Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Dunk City podcast. It is Chris Houston here with Mark Backstrom from USCbasketball.com. The Trojans coming off a rather unexpected victory, I'd say, over Wisconsin. I would say it if I hadn't actually predicted it on the last pod. But broken clock twice a day and all that kind of thing. The Trojans move to 15-5, 4-5 in conference overall, 7-3 at home. 4-2 away, remarkably enough, 4-2 away, and kind of a team that is not particularly easy to get a complete grip on from a analyst perspective. The Trojans, I think. I expected them to fight hard against Purdue. The Trojans lost 64-69 at Galen, had a chance there to win the game. I think played with Purdue the entire way. And then the next game was against Northwestern at Galen, another loss, 74-68. The non-alcoholic apple juice defeated us again. Nick Martinelli, who killed us last year, killed us again this year. And then, as I had predicted, I had actually said in the last pod that over the next three games, USC would lose to Purdue, beat Northwestern, and somehow beat Wisconsin. But for the loss to Northwestern, that would have been correct. So the Trojans are now 15-5, 4-5 in conference, as we mentioned, and will face Iowa in Carver Hawkeye Arena on January 28th. That's tomorrow, folks, Wednesday, 4 p.m. Pacific time on the Big Ten Network. And then a few days later, Rutgers on Saturday, 4 p.m. at Galen Center. Mark, how's it going?
Very good. You forgot to mention the how can people watch the Saturday game, Chris? Our favorite distribution point. There you go.
Yes,
the cock,
the pea penis. The other thing that did happen over the last few games was the season debut of Alijah Arenas, the long-awaited debut of Alijah, and it was not what you would call storybook necessarily. He is struggling shooting in the early going, but you can certainly see some of the flashing the talent that we all are looking for, and we'll talk about him a little bit later. But Mark, initial thoughts on this trio of games. The Trojans, unfortunately, went 1-2, had a great chance. I mean, if the Trojans had beaten Northwestern, you would have said, man, this is a successful three-game trip or a successful three-game swing. And, just it's kind of weird. It's like when the Trojans go away from home, they are Bulldogs, right? Whether they win or lose, they're Bulldogs. And for some reason, when they are at home, they are, not Bulldog. They are, Corgis.
I have a couple of these. They're basically Chihuahuas on their back. Just saying, rub my belly.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, maybe that's, I would say, hey, that's perhaps a byproduct of having so many transfers. But this was kind of an issue under Andy Enfield as well, where, right, you can get into sort of some esoteric theories on why this is, going back to I could just blame the fans for not being there, or two, just bringing the bad vibe. But at some point, you got to say, maybe that this team, maybe Musselman's team. I'm not there at practice, but he has a reputation for being kind of a madman, a bit, a little bit of a mad scientist. So maybe they do better off of negative reinforcement. And so when they go on the road and people are calling them all kinds of names, maybe that's something they respond to. I don't know. Thoughts?
First of all, you've disappointed probably most people listening to the pod and given the DJ a free pass. So if you want to amend your remarks, go ahead.
No, that's a great point. That's a great
add
point.
That to the record right now. That can't help.
DJ. Yeah.
I will say the L word, and it's not I love you, although I do love
that's a good show.
Listeners. Thank you so much. Letdown. I will say Northwestern absolutely had to be a function of a letdown after that close. Chihuahua on their back, joke aside. SC was tough against Purdue. They came out ready, and just unfortunate, and it just didn't go well at the very end. But it's not like they laid down. but I think that led to losing to Northwestern, and
Hmm.
I think that it was a little too easy at Oregon, and I think that there was probably a little bit of a letdown in that way when they lost at home to Washington.
Yeah.
Um, so it, it's interesting after the Wisconsin game, Big Ten Network, in or sorry, no, it was interestingly the game was on NBC NBC Sports Network in addition to
Yes.
the Peacock. They interviewed Muss afterward, and he actually just said we're a better team on the road. He kind of hedged his remarks. He said, "I think and maybe," and they just
Hmm.
said, "No, we are." And I think it's probably to that point too, where um, I think they're probably more focused and more. I don't know if it'd be focused as much as like more edgier in terms of
Hmm.
like they have the fu. I haven't really seen a lot of the fu in home games until like okay look it's halftime against Santa Cruz, we're only leading by 8 or whatever it was, get it together.
Hmm.
I think there's this is the more beginning to end fu kind of from this
Yeah.
team on the road.
Yeah. There's something about being on the road, right? It's us against the world. You get the unity, the bonding, the focus, and this is where, in a sense, you have all these veterans on the team who being on the road. It's just these guys have been on the road their whole lives, right? They're constantly going from school to school. Some of these
Mm-hmm.
guys, Chad Baker Mazzara has he's been everywhere, man. And so it's like I just don't think any of that stuff phases them. And maybe they, like I said, they need that negative reinforcement. They need that sort of challenge to their athletic acumen, where it's like it kind of gives them more of a confidence to, like, maybe they have nothing to lose kind of situation. They don't, being under misunderestimated, as George W. Bush used to say. But it's interesting. I don't really know why that is. Every once in a while, you see that in sports, teams that are better on the road than at home. But I'm not going to complain too much about it. I do say it definitely kind of flips the whole aspect of when you're looking at the schedule and trying to figure out how the team's going to do. You tend to think, okay, hopefully you can
Yeah.
split on the. Now you're just hoping that you split at home, and
Yes, as all
split
good
at
teams
home,
do.
and exactly. If we can only split at home, we'll be great. We'll be in good shape.
Well, and I did point out that it was a really rough draw.
Mm,
How this calendar year started
yeah.
with by far the roughest road game of this season, a road trip.
Hmm.
The first two at Michigan, Michigan State. But I think you go through that and you have a little bit of. I'll put it this way. Um, some of my best employees, in my day job, I'm a fractional executive. Some of the best people I've hired, it's just they're great because they've been through worst. And what on earth can go wrong in a county that they haven't dealt with already? And I
Hmm.
think if you go through those first two games that road trip, you're kind of like, all right, Wisconsin, yeah, I've seen worse. We
Yeah.
walked out and before we, at tip we were down 12-0 at Michigan. Who cares what you
Hmm.
guys have? It's a Sunday
Yeah.
afternoon here. I'm unfazed.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And the thing is with Wisconsin is, while they're a good team, they don't have the firepower of Michigan to be able to just blitz you, punch you in
Yes.
the face in the first round, and stun you. And so it's funny, if you go look back at it, the games at Minnesota and at Wisconsin might be the two most important games of the year. The two games at the two dairy
Yep.
states, so to speak. And yeah,
To that
so
point, real quick, sorry.
yeah.
So important because number one, they're on the road, but they're against the middle class of the Big Ten, which is really what's going to determine how whether we are a tournament
Hmm.
team. Especially
Hmm.
since here's another theory. Maybe we're just good hosts and we're generous and we're just handing out wins to Washington and Northwestern.
Yeah. Or maybe the other teams are just that we play are like really fired up on the road.
Correct. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's
They hate
different.
us. They hate us because they ain't us.
Well, okay, with Purdue, it's like they had half the. That's what's weird. Purdue had about half the crowd,
Yeah.
and Washington had about not even half of one section of the crowd. So it's very different dynamics between the two.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. But it's such a weird season so far, and it's been the kind of season I've not been able to really get a proper handle on. I don't think anybody has. I don't think Muss has. I think that on a given night, USC is likely to win, and that kind of is reflected in their season record. They're 15-5.
Yeah,
They win. What is that? 75% of the time, or
that would be 75%. Yes.
75%. They're winning. 3 out of 4 times they win, and so to me, it looks like this is. You look at the schedule, like you've talked about before. The tough part of the schedule is gone. We're about to hit the around the horn of the conference schedule with Iowa coming up tomorrow, and Iowa's going to be a good team. Iowa's a good team. They're 21 in Ken Palm. They're no pushover, but I'll tell you what, USC on the road, coming off a win on the road, feeling pretty good about themselves. I mean, who's to say? Really, I don't really think it's like this situation where you like, oh, it's most likely a loss. I mean, I think it's just a coin flip at this point. When you reach those, like you said, those middle class teams in the Big Ten on the road, really a coin flip for USC, who was kind of like upper middle class Big Ten team, I would say at this point.
It feels
right?
Like, well, it depends on the situation.
Yeah.
To your point about tough to get a read on this team. Let's just walk through real quick, and I promise not to make this an hour, but
yeah,
think of the team that, okay, we knew there was more talent, but the first few games we're trying to figure out kind of who's what they can and can't do. We have that for maybe a handful of games, and then Rice gets hurt, and we think he's out for anywhere from like 24 hours to 12 months. There's that uncertainty, so we adjust to that, and then we lose Dickerson 2 days later after Rice is out. So then the immune system goes to this virus over here in a different part of the body, and it's something different again. Then we're talking about, okay, now we have a new guy in Cam Woods. Then we adjust to what that is. And then we have Alijah Arenas coming in. Now Jordan Marsh, he was out for last game. Sorry, I'm not a good reporter. I don't have details on that. But he was not available after he had, a big game and then a stinker against Northwestern.
Yeah.
You had Chad Baker-Mazara, who played only 7 minutes in one game. And then, 2 games later, he's playing his usual 38.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just credit to Musk because, from game to game, it's just uncertain. Like, what do I have here? Let alone what am I facing?
No, it's flummoxing to say the least, trying to understand what this team has going for it. It's like there's so many variables. Like there's some, obviously we talked before, the ton of could have been, would have, should have been, would have been variables that are out the window. But okay, Alijah Arenas, okay, off to a bad start, shooting 23%, 0 for 9 from 3-point land. But you see the talent. He's going to break out. He's going to have a breakout game. One of these games is going to be I won't call it the Alijah Arenas game, because usually we call it the blank game when it's about a player who is not a high level talent or contributor, but who has the ability to break out one game. Alijah Arenas is going to have that point in a game very soon where it's going to be a stretch and he's going to score 10 straight points. You know what I mean? It's going to be one of those things where it's like, he is going to understand that he can do things. He's has the freedom to do things because he'll have the confidence, right? It's like he has to hit that threshold. Yep. Every player has that point where they say, I know I can play at this level, both in college football and in college basketball. It happens all the time. Yep. And once they reach that point, sometimes it's just a play. And once they hit that play, though, they're fine. They know they don't have any of the adjustment of being in a big arena or the pressure of all that stuff. All that stuff goes out the window. They start playing more closer to their physical and mental potential. So I think we're going to see that with Arenas at some point soon. The rustiness is obvious, but look, you can see the quickness, physical ability, the length. The shooting is going to be there. He's 0 for 9. It's like this guy's going to shoot. I mean, I'd be shocked if he didn't end up shooting at least 35% from 3 this year, which means that, he might hit his next 7 or something, or 6. So I think he's going to come out one of the games and just take over for a long stretch and kind of really make his mark on the team. And that's where it starts, when that happens, because it will happen, but the question is how soon. If it happens sooner rather than later, then you're looking at, hey, maybe this team can really, do some things because you've now got this extra scoring threat beyond, like a creative scoring threat beyond what CBM does, right? Because CBM is, he's throwing all kinds of things up in the air and it's going in. If you can have another guy who is able to draw that attention and hit those big shots, so then you're going to see, like, again, like you talked about him playing 38 minutes. Maybe that won't be as necessary if someone like Alijah Arenas is coming in and he is getting some points, but the efficiency isn't there yet. So I assume the efficiency will start to break in USC's favor here very soon. And look, USC is 15-5. 4 of those losses are to teams that are basically like, Michigan's number 2 in KenPom, Michigan State's number 4, Purdue's number 8. Right. So 3 of those 5 losses are to teams that are like, very good, very, very, very good teams. Right. And 2 of those losses were on the road. So, and then, Washington's not, they're not horrible. They're higher ranked in the analytics and KenPom, for example, than USC is. And we know what they can do. We know that they have like good talent. There's a lot of teams that are like in the Big Ten who have like a lot of talent, but because like you talked about, because like it's kind of an extraordinary conference this year when you think about it, because you've got Michigan who's phenomenal, Michigan State who's great, Illinois, and Purdue. That's like 4 of the top 8 teams in KenPom, right? And you keep going down. You got Nebraska having like the best season in school history, and then you have Iowa who's right there, 21st in KenPom, 14-5 overall. I mean, how could a team like Iowa or USC be better than 14-5 or 15-5 at this point, given the extraordinary upper level of the conference, right? It's like you're asking a lot, and the Trojans still have Illinois to play in that group.
Yeah. Well, yeah, don't give 2 away to Washington Northwestern, to answer your rhetorical question. That's how you get beyond 15-5. Yeah. Going back to Arenas real quick, there needs to be some mileage. I mean, I want to just point out right now, still at this point, Wesley Yates was throwing up games with BPOs of 30 with regularity. And we saw what he turned into. It's just, you got to get the mileage under Arenas. I will say, and you kind of hit on this, even though he's not been efficient, which is my big thing, I'm not panicking. I'm not going to crap on the guy. You need the mileage. And the thing is, this struck out to me so much during the Wisconsin game. This isn't just you and I being fanboys and saying, hey, this guy's awesome. I can tell you that Wisconsin totally respects this guy. And when we started the game, the early offense looked very different from recent games because he creates spacing on the floor. He has to be respected. You cannot cheat off of him and say, well, if you're going to beat us, you're going to beat us. Yeah. So again, that's like confirmation from the third party of, this guy is something. And just his being there, unless he just proves that he's not it, which we're reasonably sure he is some degree of it. Look, he's going to create opportunities for other guys too.
Yeah, every coaching staff in America saw this kid in the camps in high school and summer leagues and all the all-star games. They know exactly who he, they know how good he is. So, I think that in a sense that, him struggling as much as he has, I think had he not struggled, the only outcome that would be different is we beat Northwestern, right? And so, so it's like it's not a big radical problem with it, with him right now. I don't think you're looking at him and saying what's going on. Just a matter of time, and it would be great. You go look down the schedule. Trojans are 15-5. There are 11 conference games left, and we talked about like getting to 20 wins seems to be. Trojans get to 20 wins, they'll be like 10-10 in conference, basically, around 20, or they'll be.
We would be 9-11. I think.
9-11, right? But
they don't count the Senate game.
Right? No, you're right. But it's funny. It's like you go look at the way the back half of the schedule shapes up. You've got Iowa in Iowa, tough game, most likely a loss because I don't know if the Trojans
We'll
beat
see.
Wisconsin and Iowa on the road back, but no one would be shocked if the Trojans win. Rutgers at Galen Center looks like a win. Rutgers isn't very good. Indiana at Galen, that could be a little pivotal game. Certainly, the Trojans should win that game. In
Middle
theory,
class game, that's really important.
Yeah, it should win that game. And so that could potentially, 2 wins right there. Penn State's not that good. And the Trojans should, considering they're a good road team, should beat Penn State on the road.
Yes.
You can say the same about Ohio State. They're 39th in KenPom, so they're higher ranked than USC.
Can I stop you right there?
Sure.
That's our last time that we travel. Again, we, since you or I are the 15th and 16th guys on the bench. Last time we head out of the Pacific time zone until the Big Ten tournament. After Penn State, Ohio State. So 3 remaining road games. I'm going to say over-unders 1.5 in terms of wins. I think we
of the next 3
of the next 3 road games.
Oh, the next 3 road games
at Iowa, at Rutgers, and Ohio State. I think it's not crazy to say 2
at Penn State.
Sorry, at Penn State, Ohio State, and then going back to
I think that's right. Iowa. I think that's right. Iowa, Penn State, and I think 1.5 is the likely one, meaning the Trojans will most likely win some combination of 2 of 3 is what you're thinking.
At least one. Okay. I'll take the over. I'll take my own over. This just because this is what all good books do. They set a number, then they better themselves.
Yeah.
I'll go over on my own number.
Yeah, functionally, like we're saying that, there's definitely 1 win, there's definitely 1 loss, and then the other ones could go either way, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, but look, you got Iowa, you've got Rutgers, very winnable game. Indiana, very well winnable. Penn State, very winnable. Ohio State, going to be a tough game, but it's not the kind of game that you just mark down as an automatic loss. Illinois at Galen Center, I would probably mark that down as a loss.
Really?
Illinois is very good, and
not Trojans preview. Did it just take them getting rid of Trey White? Okay, let's take a step back. I don't think they got rid of him. I think Trey White just kind of said, "Oh, it's been another 9 months. Time for me to find another home."
Wait, is he still on that? Is he still in Illinois?
He's on Kansas now. Of course he is.
That's right.
Yeah. So, just his selection's a little better now as a team on that. At Illinois.
He loves college so much. He wants to go to as many schools as possible.
Okay. Yeah, he's kind of going to be the Bill Walton of his generation. Just
yeah,
Talking
exactly.
about all his experiences here, there, hither, and yon.
Yeah. So you're looking at 2 of 3 out of that road. Rutgers, that's 3 wins. Illinois, I think, is a loss. I feel like Oregon's a win at Galen Center. That's 4 wins. Trojans will win at least 1 against UCLA. That's 5 wins. And then you've got Washington on the road, Nebraska and Galen, and UCLA on the road. So I feel like you get 1 win out of that. And you're looking at 6 wins. You're looking at 10, and I think you can get to 10-10. This team. Now, I think
Possibly. Definitely.
Yeah, I think they're more likely to get to 10-10 if Arenas has his come to Jesus moment.
Basketball, would this be a come to Jesus Shuttleworth moment? Is that what that is?
Maybe so. Let me look. Okay, let me look real quick and let's predict. Let's do this real quick prediction here. What is the game that can we stipulate that we both agree that Alijah Arenas is going to have a breakout game where it's going to be like a real breakout game at some point? We agree with that, right? We agree on that? Okay. So the question is, what game will it be? And I am going to actually say, I think it's going to be Iowa.
Wow. Okay. Pretty sudden there.
And here's why. Because Iowa is, I haven't watched them closely this year, but historically, at least in recent years, Iowa is not a great defensive team. Right. This is a team, this is a game that there's going to be scoring. I don't know how Iowa, again, like I said, I haven't watched Iowa closely this year, but this is a game, the kind of game that is going to be great for a young scorer to break out. Like there's going to be a lot of lax defense on. He's going to have a lot of space to do stuff. So I'll predict Iowa is his big breakout game. And if that is his breakout game, then I think that the closeout of the schedule looks a lot better.
We'll get into more detail on Iowa in a moment. So I'll just say I have a different opinion of Iowa, and we'll leave it at that for this moment.
Sure.
Going in character with the team, I'm going to say it's going to be a road game. I'm going to say at Penn State.
Okay.
Now, not often that, I don't know. Well, I think it was last year when we played at Illinois. It was a 9 a.m. Pacific tip. Does that sound right? It was early.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
So this is on Super Bowl Sunday, I might add too, which is, I guess they're doing us a favor. It's like, yeah, go ahead and this is fun. Go ahead and play your game, and you can be like over, the state of Kansas when the Super Bowl kicks. Congratulations, Trojans. I think that'll be it. As long as if the time difference doesn't do it, I think Penn State's can be had a lot more easily.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to spoil the Iowa preview. I'll just say that for now.
Oh, all right. Very good. We haven't talked a whole lot about the last three games, and I don't want to go into too great a detail, but when you're looking at your numbers, Mark, we saw Arenas' impact or lack thereof in the last two games. We saw the return of the Chad Baker-Mazara, who had kind of got off to a really hot start before kind of hitting a little bit of a wall for several reasons. But we've seen some good play from Ezra Asar, showing great consistency. Jacob Kofi during that stretch has been pretty good, especially on the rebounding side. But you haven't really seen a whole lot of consistency out of the rest of the guys. I think there's been some talk on the boards about Jerry Easter, like he should be playing more. I tend to agree with that. He's only averaging 13 minutes a game right now. I kind of think that, I'm sorry, he's not averaging 13. He's averaging 18.8 minutes a game, which is good. But I do think that maybe in key moments he might be needed more often. But other than that, what do you see when you look at your metrics about the progression of the team these last three games?
I'll say this. Purdue is so good that they just, as my best boss ever said, they make light bend when it comes to the metrics. You have to judge them on just a curve that just kind of doesn't make sense to,
For the record, guys, I think they're my pick to win the national title for all the other.
Yeah. They're all a bunch of assassins that all look like they're 35 years old somehow.
You got a 35-year-old point guard with a beard that reaches to his knees.
Well, the other guy that looks like the big guy. I forget his name. Is it Clough? He literally looks like he's a lumberjack. I mean, they pulled him off like a truck and just said, "Okay, you're going to play basketball," and he's quite good. Amazing. So, anyways, really good defensive team. So I have to kind of just toss that. And I'm not going to put too much into capital L letdown game with Arenas getting his first start. I want to look most closely at the Wisconsin game. What really stands out to me is, like I said, just the presence of Arenas spaces the floor.
Yeah.
The SARS BPO for the Wisconsin game was over 70, which I think that is just a matter of it. Wisconsin I think they're basically have our size and length.
Yeah.
I think just they're not used to having to spread the floor as much as they did to us. And that makes a big difference in the efficiency of Asar.
Yeah.
First thing that stood out to me. This is what's really interesting to me is look, he still is not the most efficient player, but Cam Woods with 0 turnovers against Wisconsin, a good, not great defensive team. That's huge. And
I think the team itself had only 5 turnovers in that game.
Right? Yeah. Turnover percent of less than 6, which is great because if there's one thing that really has led us to real vulnerability, it's these long stretches where we just cannot take care of the ball for possession after possession after possession. Arenas, which is surprising in his second career start, no turnovers in 18 minutes at Wisconsin as well.
Yeah.
Along the same lines, two rebounding performances that get really overlooked. Arenas with, let me see here, 5 in just 18 minutes. It comes to 11 per 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And Jerry Easter
Oh, he's.
with,
I mean, look,
yeah,
that guy's the modern day fat lever.
there
You
you
know,
go.
I mean,
Yes.
great rebounding
Yep.
guard. Just has a knack.
So he led the team in 13.3 per 40 minutes. And the key defensive play to slow down the defender and then get a hand on the ball and then hit two clutch free throws. And he
Mm-hmm.
didn't have an efficient game, but that's the kind of guy that can just, I don't want, he more than makes up for it when he's having a down game on the
Yeah.
defensive side
Well,
of the court.
he's the kind of guy I'd like to have back for another year,
Yeah.
but like we talked about before, like I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna put my heart into it or think that let myself think that I'll get to see him grow up. But we shall see. We shall see.
You hope for
Um,
the best.
yeah.
Yeah. The other thing too, interesting, our leading assist guy in the Wisconsin game, Jacob Covey, actually,
Hmm.
when I think this is interesting. It's kind of the rich guy poor guy thing. I think it's either a really healthy sign or a sign of total dysfunction when your big man is your leading assist. I think
Hmm.
in this case it was good. Again, it goes back to the spacing that you had,
Yeah.
and just this guy can make plays too.
Yeah. Kopi has, I think, uh, he has a similar skill set as Benny Boatwright. He not is not the outside shooter that Benny Boatwright is,
Yep.
but I'm talking about from like the fluidity at the size kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
he shoots it well from the outside. His form is great. Like he's a natural shooter. He's not like the most intense guy in the world. Like there's definitely like maybe it's the way he comes across. Maybe he looks almost kind of effortless in everything he does. But remember, this is the guy who has the top vertical leap on the team, right? This is
Hmm.
a, a plus athlete at his size, and he's got some skills. And again, this is one of those things where he's only a sophomore, right? And you would really like to have him around next year so that you can see the progression because he definitely has a lot of ability and games like that, is example of how he can show the different ways he can beat you.
Hmm.
You know.
No, absolutely. Better defender than Boatwright, I would say, though, for sure.
Oh yeah, 100. Like I'm thinking more in terms of movement. Benny was more of an pure offensive guy, but I just mean like the
Mm,
6'10", flexible. He's
yeah.
obviously a bigger, stronger kid down low than Benny was, but
Yeah.
just the overall kind of like the way he moves reminds me
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
him.
We will not confuse him with Jovanovic or oh my gosh, I'm getting old. The Chicago kid, Nick,
Chicago.
the guy from Chicago, like a 6'10" center. He was getting in fights and always in like he got in those
Oh,
technicals. Thank you.
Rakocevic, Nick
Yeah.
Rakocevic. No, he's way more athletic than Nick
Yeah.
Rakocevic. Now he doesn't, if you took Nick Rakosevic's fire and bile and transferred like 15% of it to Jacob Kofi, then I think you might have an all Big Ten player this year. But
Yeah. No.
I think it's one of those things where Nick was all was 6'11", 230 pounds, all of it heart, and yeah, he wasn't exactly. And he's a good player. He's a hard worker and a lot of histrionics and all that kind of thing, but still a good player. Had a lot of qualities to him. But Jacob Kofi, very high level athlete at his size, moves around well and has the ability to play at a very high level at times. Now you just get him. I think one more year. I think he's going to be a really good player. Last half of next year, wherever he is, definitely I think an NBA prospect with another solid year under his belt for sure. But yeah,
Pretty much every analyst says that too. When they
mhm.
say, he seems to be the most intriguing NBA prospect on on the roster.
Yeah, yeah. There's just like you look at him, I think, as a talent evaluator, and you see the flexibility in the movements and the fluidity, right? So you look at fluidity, you look at ball skills. Like he can do a lot of things with the ball. Like he doesn't treat the ball like like it's a foreign object, like like a lot of large players do. Like it's this orb that he's discovered from a distant planet, and he's like holding it and trying to figure out what to do with it. Like he's not one of those guys. He has a very natural ability with the ball, and when you're a talent scout looking at the next level, you are looking for those kind of guys. And hopefully, I think what a lot of guys are hoping now is to find someone like that who is just like hitting the home stretch of the jump in basketball, acumen. So the question is, if Jacob Kofi is going to be that kind of guy, NBA guy, there's going to be a point where he starts taking off. And if you can be an NBA scout who looks at a guy like that and says, well, I can get him, he's going to be really good if I can just get him into, no one knows about him. I can get him in a camp as a free agent or take him as a late second round pick, then, or an early, I know that he's going to be like a high value pick or a high value acquisition, right? Like he kind of has that. Like if he ends up like not being a very good NBA player, you probably you didn't spend much on him, right? You didn't waste, like I wouldn't waste a first round pick on him unless he just blows up. Like you don't waste a first round pick on him. What you do is you get him as a second round pick or as a free agent, and you help try to develop him. And there's a decent chance he could develop with more seasoning,
Sure.
So that's why I think they're really intrigued by him.
Yeah.
I don't think they're thinking he's going to be a guy who's going to come in and average 20 and 10. But he could play like 15 years or something.
I was going to say, just Brian Scalabrine played in the NBA a long
Mm-hmm.
time.
Yeah, no, totally. He could be a backup stretch forward who comes in, plays 10 minutes a game and, rebounds and plays defense and blocks shots and shoots. He does all those things. Like he's not like outstanding at any one of those things, but he's kind of like he's a sort of a master of none, a jack of all trades, master of none kind of guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but those guys are what basketball is into these days, right? They like those kind of guys, the guys who can do a little bit of everything.
Yep.
So, any other thoughts on player progression these last 3 games?
Again, the Cam Woods thing just really stands out to me because Wisconsin's a good defensive team, not great. And the fact that he didn't turn it over, just mentally, I've been a little hard on the guy. But I don't think, he's not a great shooter, but I think if he can play like we saw at Wisconsin, that's a lot more, I think, of what Muss was hoping to get than the first 2 games. And let's keep in mind too that, look, this guy didn't play until a season opener, in the middle of December against UC Santa Cruz. So it's it's going to take some time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the Trojans 15-5, 4-5 in conference. You got Iowa. Tell me about Iowa. You said you alluded to them earlier. You had some things to say about the Hawkeyes. Let's hear your hot take.
Okay. Fran McCaffrey, whose teams never played defense, is no longer the coach. Very different. And I've only seen them play a little bit against UCLA, just kind of as they closed out that game. Also at home. A little scouting by metrics, if you will. What's really interesting to me is the 2 biggest counting stats, points for and points against. Let's start with points against. They have given up just total points over the season. They are 3rd, not in points per game, just total points. 3rd in total points given up in all of NCAA Division I.
As in the most?
Least.
Oh, the least. Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Number of points. Okay. This is what's interesting. However, in offensive points scored, same metric, but on their side of the ball, 260th.
Oh. So
This
I had no idea what I was talking about. I didn't even realize that McCaffrey had left, and that so it's
well,
Ben
I think
McCollum.
we didn't want to see him leave. I really enjoyed playing against his teams.
Yeah,
He was
at
not a
least
great
they're
coach.
at least entertaining. But Ben McCollum is the coach, right, from Northwest Missouri State. They brought
I
in,
I think
yeah,
so. That sounds
that's
right.
the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So yeah, the kind of negate my previous point about Alijah Arenas maybe on in Iowa.
so
Maybe
yeah.
let's have him go. We'll have him go off against Rutgers. That sounds more amenable.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
Offensively, field goal percentage 50.9%, 14th in all of NCAA, 26th in 3-point percentage. So again, I've seen them play a little, but if I look at these numbers, what this sounds to me like is your classic Dick Bennett Washington State,
Mm-hmm.
run a bunch of offense and make them just, punish the other team with 28 seconds of motion and
Mm-hmm.
getting either a great look at a three or a layup,
Mm-hmm.
and just minimize the number of possessions. That's what it looks like to me.
Mm-hmm.
Their defensive BPO is 43.2, which is exceptional. Offensively, BPO as a team is 57.0. They have three guys with BPOs over 60. Bennett Sturts, very Iowa name. Kem Manyawu and Tate Sage. So, they can, it sounds like he's pretty quickly found, Bulldogs to fit his specific system.
Mm-hmm.
They don't strike me as really, really, uh, there's no AJ DeBonsa on this
Yeah.
team, but
Yeah.
that's not how it works there.
Not everybody can
Um,
be BYU.
yes. They create 17% turnover rate, which is exceptional too. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm really concerned about from a USC standpoint, because like I said, if there's one thing that really tends to doom us, it's these long stretches where we don't get a shot attempt up over 5 possessions. Um,
Yeah.
that's probably my primary fear about facing this team.
And also the other thing is USC doesn't really have a true point guard, right? And so when you have a situation where you're going up against stellar defensive team and you don't have a point guard, uh, then things become a bit tougher. Now, look, for a team that doesn't have a point guard, USC's done a fairly decent job of handling their lead guard duties, right? It's not a team that is, I don't know, it's not a team that's like particularly uh, turnover prone. You know, it's not a team that has like had this glaring weakness at point guard, and in the way that there was a glaring weakness at point guard last year. So at the same time, when we've seen this many times in basketball, where a team that is maybe has a bit of a weakness at point guard, if teams that are like really high level defensive teams are able to really clamp down on those kinds of teams, and it becomes just so much more of a challenge. But at the same time,
Yeah.
you look at what USC did against Purdue, and was able to, to parry with Purdue, and not get blown out. In that case, a very intense defensive team. So,
Can I push back on one thing on that? I
sure.
would say actually, I think Cam Woods is a point guard to a fault. I think he's more of an old school point guard that is not an efficient shooter, one of those guys.
Yeah.
That
Maybe
you can slough off, you can let him take the outside shot, because if I'm scouting this team, that's the first thing I'm going to do. Just don't let him get past you. But
Yeah,
he
fair
can
point.
take all the threes he wants.
Yeah, fair point. Fair point. Look, you can't argue with 5 turnovers as a team last game.
No,
So,
not at all. Yeah.
But that's what I'm also saying too, is like USC's handled things pretty well, despite not having a true point guard. So, but that all said, the reason why it struggles offensively at times is because of that, right? It may overcome those flaws with extraordinary playmaking by Chad Baker-Mazara and stingy defense and timely play, all that stuff, right? They make up for it in other ways. They couldn't make up for it in other ways last year when they were in the same situation with Muss, where they didn't really, so they couldn't really do it. This year they have other ways to do it, and earlier in the year they had Rodney Rice, right? So it's like I mean, gosh, I mean, I go back and think about like Rodney Rice and Dickerson and Arenas
Yeah.
on this team, and it's like, especially just like Rice and Mazzara. These are two guys that were going to be like one of those guys might have ended up an All American because having the other guy makes the other one so much better, and just like they were just really good, and you're not going to have that again. But I don't know. Maybe Rice comes back next year. Maybe Arenas comes back next year, and you have something like that. There's a lot of guys who, if they come back next year, like then it's going to be a really outstanding team when you add in, the Ratliff brothers as well, who are just,
Yeah.
you were phenoms, right?
And the one thing too that I think we're seeing that's different this season is more than most teams in the conference. I think we still have the most upside in terms of continuity.
Mm-hmm.
I think most other teams are kind of fully formed right now.
Yeah.
And they're going to still improve, but I think that we have more, to use a horse racing term I use, more immediate upside. I think that we've got a lot more, we can improve leaps and bounds over the next 4 games than most teams will at this point.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it also, if you argue that just like players need mileage, like you mentioned, guys who need reps to get better, coaches in a way are kind of the same thing when it comes to circumstances like the transfer portal, which is a relatively new concept. And it's something that to which Eric Musselman has dedicated a significant portion of his energies since it has come into existence. And he's tended to do pretty well in the portal. He didn't do as well last year. And I think this probably caused him to do better this year. And you really look at the roster that he started with this year, and you're like, wow, that's actually a really good roster.
Well, it was superiorly constructed. I mean, I think that's about as good as we can ask for at a program like USC.
Yeah, no, absolutely. A very exquisitely constructed roster, especially looking back in retrospect at some of these games. I mean, that USC ended up losing. The 2 games at Michigan were not in question, but the other 3 games are all in question and certainly could have gone USC's way. And I would say you probably at least one of those, maybe 2 of those turns into wins. I would say we probably win all 3 with Rice and Dickerson and a healthy Arenas from the start. So
I would say just Dickerson alone, we beat. I think that he slows down Martinelli and Claude.
Well, they're
just one guy.
Yeah, they're 1 win each, right? In that group, like they were worth a win in that group. Which is all to say that next year, I don't have any inside information now as to who's going to likely stay. Things are always changing when it comes to situations with players. Who knows what the situation is going to be like with USC financially? Who knows how much is going to be dedicated to basketball? How much is going to be available? What the going rate will be for guys out there? What kind of offers they're going to get? Almost impossible to guess. I don't know if they are doing. Unfortunately, unlike in the NFL, when somebody signs with somebody, they're like, Joe Johnson just signed a 4-year, $32 million contract with an extension, clause and a guarantee here, and this is this, and with like the college, it's like, hey, Bill Bates just resigned, or we just got this guy. You know what I mean? There's no like, oh yeah, he got paid $3 million and he's going to stay 2 years. Or he only gets, if he leaves after a year, he only gets, 400,000. I don't know. Like, they really need to have this is all to say, they really need to have like transparent, like if they had transparent salary, news going on, or like if they were required to report the salary, like I think like I hate, like one of the reasons why I don't like the NBA and the NFL is like a lot of the talk is about like, the cap and contracts and all this stuff that like it's not really a basketball thing, it's a business thing, right? And so that stuff doesn't interest me as much, but it's like the worst of all worlds with college basketball and college football, because you get the contract stuff the contract
Mm-hmm.
talk. Like as a fan, I have to listen to the contract talk, but it's like this completely like incomplete picture that is being painted, you
Yeah.
know, and it's like everything is like this, this whisper campaign about like what really happened, or you know, you know what I mean. So it's like this.
Oh yeah.
So it's
No.
completely unsatisfying, and I think that's also like it. You know, it is something that potentially could alienate a lot of people after a while because people want rational expectations, just like in business, where it's like if you're a fan, you just can't have this business. Like if you're going to think about like you really want your fans to think about the team during the off season.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's kind of the definition of the fan. Like if you go back, actually think, you know, define what a fan is, and you say a fan is someone who thinks about his team in the off season. A true fan, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Person who only thinks about his team in season is just someone who watches the sport, right? But if you think about USC basketball in the off season, then you're someone who's a fan. And if you're trying to think about USC, you tend to think, they're going to have this guy back, or they should have this guy back, or I can't wait to see this guy play. But if every year the same thing is when they think about it is who knows who's going to be on the team, then you're going to stop thinking about the team in the off season, because all you can do is like, you know,
Yeah. Wake me
say
up
who.
when you know what the roster is.
Yeah, let
And
me
we're
know.
actually
Let me
playing
know.
games.
Yeah, let me know when we're on the team. And also, it's like, you're getting like I can see Amari and Dickerson's highlights and see his athleticism, see his abilities, see his accolades, see what he's done, but you still never know how someone's gonna play out.
Yeah.
So there's just so many unknowns. And tell you what makes it hard to do podcasts.
Podcasting is hard work.
It's grueling.
It's
Yeah. My ancestor, who was a potato farmer
mm-hmm.
in Western Rhineland, Germany,
Yes, we can go
did
back like to
did nothing
75,000
on
years ago. You know,
have
I
nothing
fended off a
on.
saber-toothed tiger. What did you do today? Oh, I went on a computer and I talked to Chris about college basketball. Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
same. It's a draw.
it is. It is. Anyway, well, okay. So I think this podcast and last podcast kind of come to similar conclusions, which is that this is a team that you can't count out, you can't really rely on. Definitely is a pretty good team, I would say, on balance, and team capable of high level play, team capable of long stretches of impotency on both ends, and a team that is, while it has some flaws, also has some amazing assets, and the remnants of what was once a really formidable roster still is not an easy out in the Big Ten. And I think that, when you look at the rest of the schedule and you look at uh, potential Big Ten tournament situations, then you're looking at a team that's probably going to go to the tournament when it's all said and done, which is going to be like, wow. I don't think
Fingers
they're going to be a
crossed.
team. Yeah, I think they're going to go to the tournament. I don't think they're going to be a team that's going to do anything in the tournament, but they'll probably get there, probably win one at best. Uh, you know, um,
Let's see about the coaching matchup. Okay.
let's see. You're right. Once you get there, but I'm just, you look at maybe you're right. I'm not going to say anything. They're not a team I would expect to go very far in the tournament, just based on what you would typically require in the tournament. Um, I think that would have been different had Rodney Rice, Marion Dickerson, healthy Alijah Arenas uh, been there throughout the whole thing. That's a team that I think is potentially a top 10 team. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
anyway, that's my thoughts on the current state of basketball for USC. Like I mentioned earlier, we have Iowa in Carver-Hawkeye Arena tomorrow, 4 p.m. Pacific time. A lot of you people will probably be watching the last half on your phones as you're traveling down the freeway. And then, of course, Rutgers on Saturday on the Penis Network, 4 p.m. in Galen. Hope everyone can avoid watching that stupid channel and just go to Galen.
Wow. Not quite the salesman pitch. I let me try an alternate pitch if I could.
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
Yeah. You mentioned that we have, stretches of impotence. I will just say, no better cure for basketball impotence than a home
Peacock.
game against Rutgers on the cock.
Oh man! If only we played South Carolina.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
no.
Anyway. Okay. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. We, I think, are the kind of a strange era of basketball, I would say, and I think maybe the podcasts are starting to reflect that a bit. Maybe the level of intensity isn't there, but we certainly do enjoy talking Trojan basketball, and you guys coming out to listen. Please, if you get a chance, give us a like or a subscribe and review. Be sure to go to uscbasketball.com for lots of great Trojan basketball discussion. We'll be back, I think, after this next stretch of games. Let's see, Iowa, Rutgers, Indiana. I kind of get a sense that we're probably going to be talking after the Indiana game. What do you think, Mark?
Let's see how it plays out. I like our chances against Rutgers. That might be a little bit of an influence here, right?
For sure. All right. Well, let's try to beat the national champion Hoosiers in in the sports arena, and maybe some of these USC fans will go to it thinking that it's a football game. So.
There you go. Yes.
Well, okay, Mark, unless there's anything else from you, we'll sign it off here. Thanks again for everyone for listening. Trojans play Iowa tomorrow night, 15-5, still going strong. These guys are warriors. Coach Muss, the bus is still warm, still chugging along. Mark?
Thank you all for listening. And as always, fight on.
Fight on.